Hi everybody. I haven't been on for a while, just been sorting things out. Sorting on my mic as well. I could never get my mic to work properly. I tried to upload a couple of videos, but the voice quality, sound quality was just kind of horrendous, so I couldn't really do it. And like using that other headset, 'cause it's so distorted on my voice kind of thing. This isn't perfect, but it's the best one I've got up to now, so it's just like a DJI thing, but I suppose you can't really see it, I suppose. Just a little mini thing. I tried to look for the grey, like it's got a grey fluffy thing that goes on instead of a black, which is a little bit better for starting so it doesn't really hear my breathing and stuff. Anyway, that's over with. So this video is for entertainment purposes only. Just my opinions of things, nothing factual, I think. I'll just leave that at that. I think I told this story before on YouTube. If I have, then I'm sorry, but I'm just going to go over it again, kind of thing. Remember, like a time where I was walking down a black path, and the sun was on the verge of setting. It was still up, so it was still like light, but you had like the long shadows, and they were like casting like sort of trickery, like sort of because there were. If you can imagine, like there's a grass verge down the side of me with trees, and then the shadows from the leaves of the trees, plus the shadows from the grass itself, like all flickering about, 'cause it's like breezy as well. So they were like all like look like shadows dancing type of thing. On this side of me was just like a row of houses. Went on for about half a mile, like on both sides, like trees this side, houses that side. I'm on a path, and at the time of like seeing it, I took it as like all the roots from the trees went over to the houses, and like everybody's like in the shadows because people don't really do shadow work as such. I need my glasses. I don't know why I'm wearing my glasses. All the people's shadows, like because they don't do the work, so like they're all distorted. If you could imagine that, they're all like seeped back into the tree roots, and then they came back up as these like little shadows. Which I do think they were. I do think they were elemental because they're like when I got close to them, even though it went on for like say half an hour ish, like to walk past it, all type of thing. As I was approaching the shadows would like stop, as if they were like turning to look at me, and almost look like little like human sort of figures type of thing as well. And there was one thing where like sort of like I'm seeing something here that's not like I'm not just like making it up in my own head type of thing. Um, cause I'm aware of like shadows and light and all that can play a trick. You can play tricks on your mind and all that. But it's just funny like how it like did my along the walk all the way along the walk. As soon as I got like within that kind of vicinity, it wasn't much, but like that kind of close, the shadows would just stop dancing and seem to look round at me, and then as I look back, the other ones would like carry on dancing again, type of thing. Um, then it was on that sort of time as well where people say like like the veil gets thin, but towards like sort of twilight. I was doing like a walk to go on a night quest, so by the time I got to where I was going, it was night, but not much really happened there. This was like the most significant thing of what had happened that night, type of thing. Um, it just gave me a lot of like pause for thought, like when you guys who watched like videos on here before I took the other ones off, and because I keep like I'm to change like we try and refresh the channel all the time, like type of thing. so it doesn't get stagnant with all like sort of static energies. It's not just that. It's I say a lot of things like that I change my mind on, change my opinion on, so I don't really like things to be set in stone. Um, but anyway, like you guys know that sort of like spoke about it a couple of times here and there. I believe like the psyche people have an effect upon the world in one way or another. And it might sort of emanate through the elementals or some other means, like God's wrath or whatever, like type of thing. And I don't mean Christian gods. Um, I mean like sort of our true ancestral gods. So for me, it would be a cross between the Celts and the Norse. Some people are just pure Norse, some people pure Celts, some people pure Hindus, and other religions that I'm not really completely aware of, like say whether the Native Americans accepted to of the pagans' own paganism to their beliefs. Like there's a similar thing like where they connect with the earth and all the rest of it. And I also like believe like sort of in the end of time, like sort of there's always this like devourer. But I think that the devourer comes from within. Like it's really tricky to talk about because I'm an English person, so I try and reflect upon it through like what does paganism represent here culturally, because of a lot of it's lost. I can't really do that as such. So I have to go to Ireland, pick up little bits there, go to Norse, pick up little bits there, go to Hinduism, pick up bits there, Japanese folklore, pick up bits there, the Native Americans, pick up bits there, Scandinavians and all the rest of it, like all the people who haven't have still got like a lot more than what we have, because similarities, there's still like country bumpkins, and that's what paganism really is, in a sense, a country bumpkin, with your beliefs of the land that you live in. I just wanted to like do it in a way that's local, but it's proven tricky. Um, so I tried doing it for the Morrigan, which was like closest I could get to. Well, not the closest, but the one that was like hitting me, like calling, I suppose. Even though like she's more of an Irish goddess, but she kind of gets mentioned in Scottish folklore and stuff here and there. But I'm convinced that before Christianity destroyed everything here in England, there would have been like mentions of her here as well in England. Anyway, I'm kind of going off topic there. So to try and stay on topic instead of waffling. Sorry, guys. I'm kind of a bit excited. I haven't done a video for ages. So I think like there is some like truth to this concept of like the shadows. If you don't work on your shadows, then the shadows overcome you, and there's a lot of proof to people who can't deal with that without saying any trigger words. Like people going to demise or like paranoias or anxiety. It's all like in there, but like society causes a lot of that as well. Um, but like it's like at the end of the day, the end result, you're causing it yourself if you allow it yourself, type of thing. Uh, and it's the thing that really undoes you, like nature, because if you're not being like true to your nature, and society is so materialistic, it takes us outside of your true nature, because we should be like in with the land, not in cities or socializing the way like they do and such. Sports and all that's kind of all of them. It's right on my head, so I can't even like communicate with people when it comes to sports, or because my interest is like in a sense mysticism, um, but on like the level of like shadow work, some supernatural tales, like fairy tales and stuff like that, Um, and it's kind of like, I feel like that's where I've kind of always sat in my head, I suppose, in a way. Not really. It's like tricky because I always like believe like sort of something greater, not this Christian God, or like try and look at it as creation, the universe, the purpose that we all have, that the universe really wants us to carry out, that we've been hindered from. Well, we hinder ourselves from, really, in a sense, because we don't know what it is, because it's been that, like, language has been lost. You go through life and things are so distorted that you don't really realize, like, when you go through different, like, stages in your life, like when you get into teens, you start rebelling and you don't really understand why you're rebelling, type of thing. You, like, sort of battle with your parents, battle with your friends, through like your inner self, not through your, well, it could be through the outer self as well, but it usually goes on within, trying to understand why people maybe sound blunt. If you're like me, that's how I did it, but you might not be like me, so it might be something else. Like, why isn't someone going along with what you want, or whatever it may be, when because you get like these tendencies when you're in your teens, and you kind of slowly creep out of it, but it's such a slow like path that it could be like into your late 20s, even like early 30s, where you start like sort of coming into your midlife crisis stage, and that can even go to your 40s and 50s as well. But um, so it depends where you are on the path, type of thing. So you go to your midlife crisis, like, what have you done with your life? What have you made of it? And all the rest of it. Um, and it's like from that point on, I think, like, you start to wise up to, oh well, like, I'm going to stop doing drugs. I'm going to stop drinking alcohol. I'm going to stop swearing and cursing as much, except for when it's absolutely needed, type of thing. Oh, like, off the cuff's not too bad, really, but you just try your best, type of thing. The morals that you make up yourself, I'm just mentioning ones that I've come across. You'll have your own set. These, like, cursing, stuff like that might not really bother you guys. Um, so I'm not like making suggestions or anything like that. And it's like explaining like the things that like sort of come to play within me. Um, for me, like, it's kind of a bit of a sad story in a way. Because when I was like 19, I took LSD, and it took that to make me realize something wasn't quite right with the way I was doing things for myself. I got old. I drew like this psychedelic raindrop out of cardboard and made it really big, and I was like going like this, like a robot, to try and trip out my friends, and ended up tripping out myself, which made me realize that, like, these sort of like the inner voice, when it like tells you to go and do something and then you go along with it, like that first response, attention response, was quite dangerous, and it made me step back, and like, through time, I didn't really wasn't really aware of it back then, but it was the beginning of me creating my second attention. Because once I stopped, I always looked at things like that, I was like reverse before I acted on it, and then that made me realize, oh, this is the second attention. So you're like having a second voice upon, rather than like just hearing the voice that's like sort of brought to your attention first. You're stopping that and going, no, hold on a minute, look at all of the ins and outs of that. What is that about, type of thing. And this is like your shadow work, really, to see what that voice is up to all the time. Like, um, the tricky bit is, like, like, if you don't come from it from the angle I did, because I got it quite early, but it's like a dangerous path in a sense because taking LSD, I wouldn't really recommend that for anybody, But I don't know how else I would have got there, because I didn't realize, I didn't even know I had an inner voice. I would have been like one of those kids that would have like swore blindly that I didn't have an internal dialogue. I wouldn't have known. But because people don't really explain what that actually is, so you'd have to like stop a kid and go, right, if I tell you what, like 1 and 1, what is it? And they go 2. And you say, well, how did you come to that conclusion? What was it in your brain that made you go there? What did you like say it to yourself before you answered? And sometimes people just like, still, they're just like, no, it's just an instant response. But it's because they're moving that fast, really, that they don't see that inner dialogue actually really does get there first. So you got to like keep slowing them down and going, oh, do you not see like how you actually arrive in there, like to get there type of thing. And it's because of schooling's stupid, because you're like told that 1 and 1 equals 2 or 1 and 1 equals 11. It's like 2 possibilities of it. Well, you're not really told 1 and 1 equals 11 till much later when you do numerology and things like that, which you don't really do at school. So if you got lucky parents who teach you, you get to find out. I didn't. I had to find out the hard way, really, through learning, like coming across it, like later in life type of thing. I like think, like from the story where I was like tripping people out and I actually caught myself out on it. Yes, I was tripping, so it went into like an extreme inner self because it was like in that inner voice, like in deep with myself at the time, and I seen the effect that it had on me, and like how like the recognition of how dangerous that is. Like you can't, even though it's like just a small, like tedious thing in a sense. It wasn't really doing any harm as such. But if I like if I just like ignored it and played along with it, continued, and started doing other like sort of stupid traits, like goodness knows what else I would have could have just jumped on, like with that first attention response. It's quite dangerous. Seeing quite a lot of things like just pop into my head, and I've got I would never do that. I would never do that. But if I didn't have that second attention bar, then would I? And I could never answer to that. Like would I just go along with it? Because like the thing with the inner voice, it always appears as it comes from you, your own like nature in a sense. But you find out like in my case, because I came across it at 19, that was my start and beginnings of creating the second attention. It still took me all the way to I mean like late 40s and 50s. I'm like 56 nearly, almost, and maybe 56. So this took me like quite a long time to get to the point where I actually realized, like you picked a lot of that up from school and your friends, social life, your parents, like throw a lot of opinions the way they think, and you would like just assume that's expected, so you just play out the same thing type of thing, but it's not you, it's them. I see the same thing, like people teach Christianity, I know there's loads of different doctrines of like all these Jesus beliefs and that, but regardless of that, it's like handed down through the family in a black book and all that. Um, and you pick all that up from a kid, especially if you're like family's like sort of really strong in that sense. It didn't matter if you rebelled it or not, you still pick it up. And some people fall into the trap of like, even though they rebelled, fall into the trap of like, oh, well, this seems to be the only place where there's like common sense, but there is no common sense if you really actually sat down and truly read the Bible and saw how murderous that God is and what he tells people to do, like murder and rape and murder and rape and all the rest of it. It's a book of blood, really. Then it's like no wonder people like fail, back at the end of it, like when if they don't change the ways as such. It's just like it's not something I really ever thought about until like later life, like kind of wondered like how do people not really see it? How do people just go along with this other like sort of blindside themselves into it's a peaceful God? I just think they're not really there, They they've even been taught the real stories or they haven't really read it. Or they're picking out the favourite bits and just keeping it at that, You can't cope with like the sense of like the morals might not be in the right place type of thing. See, like with paganism, when it comes to paganism, like you don't really need any of that. There is no good and there is no evil, which you've heard me talk about on this channel before. Like if you've watched me before I took all my older videos off. There's good and there's bad. That's how I look at it. There's good and there's bad. And you learn from the bad because the bad's your mistakes, where you fuck up, okay? The good's where you get it right and pull it off, type of thing. Sometimes it can still be bad. Like the good can be bad and the bad can be good. Like there is paradoxals in there. But all these things, they're different for everybody, so you can't really... This is why, like, the parents would, like, leave you to yourself to learn, because, like, you got to pick up things in your own way. I still think parents should teach you to read and write and all the rest of it, but just so you have some basis here, I would like to see, like, ideally, like, parents teaching the craft of, like, how to live in the wild to a kid that at an early age, even if it just like starts with camping trips, like a 3-year-old is taking a kid camping, and then like, oh well, like when it gets later into its life, 10, 13-year-old, when it really starts being able to pick things up, teach it what plants it can eat and all that. Or you could just do that right from the beginning. You could just start picking plants like berries and that. And you could just say to your kid, if you ever see these, don't eat them, show me first, and I'll tell you if they're the right ones or not, so you can like give the kid caution at first. I don't know, you just go along with your own way, And eventually the kid just pick all these things up. I really wish that we'd learned like the Celtic runes, Ogham runes. Because each rune has a number, a letter of the alphabet, and then what tree that's connected to, Like I've grown up and I don't even know what half of my trees are, I know some of them, but like a handful, like 6 or 7 trees, and that's it. Like the obvious ones, the holly, the oak, the ash, the birch. Like obvious ones, the willow. But I would like to, there's other ones that I just look at them and think, what is that one? And I haven't got a clue. Couldn't even name it. I kind of waffled in on, and I'm fiddling on. It's a bad habit because I use my glasses for everything now. Everything just looks blurry, but I don't need them. You can still like see it, put up 2 fingers there, 3 fingers, 4 fingers. I could even see it on my phone, Anyway, I've got to try and get to the point. I'm waffling on too much. Uh, so all these like little things, would actually help. Like all these suggestions and that. Well, not really suggestions, but things I would have liked, I suppose, to have come across in this lifetime early on rather than late on. I think like especially like the mythic stories and all that. Like especially when you get into teens, I think you need them the most. The mythological stories of the gods, because you find like through those stories that the gods fuck up just as much, and it wouldn't be as bad because you get like especially like me myself, and it might have been the same for you guys. My parents were Christian. They were Pentecostal mine, so it's like all that Elvis, like so the way they get up on the British floor and do all that freaking Elvis stuff. I used to really hate it. And unfortunately, I can't listen to Elvis songs because of it, because it really did my head in. Um, and so like I just sort of, I think everyone might have this. I don't know, but I just like sort of passion within myself that would always burn me. Because I could never feel like as if I was good enough or doing something right when I was doing when I fuck up, and you do when you're a teenager because you're naturally rebelling at that age as well. So it's like almost like you're interpreting it into yourself. Well, I'm just going to be naturally evil and kind of thing. That's how like your inner voice kind of interprets it in a way. I'm going to just be naturally evil and fuck everything and all that. Like that rebellious state type of thing. Um, and to get out of that, it's not an easy thing. You see, for everybody, it's going to be something completely different. For me, it was the funny enough that acid drop thing that actually stopped all of it. Because then it made me look at like the way I was being and everything. I really did go that deep in myself. I can't really tell the whole story because there's just too much of be for 6 to 7 hours, if not longer. Um, so I don't know really what would do for you guys, because I wouldn't want to suggest that, or like rather suggest like the second alternative, which is like the pagan beliefs and all that, see that your own gods do fuck up, um, and it's not all that bad, but there's always like an end to our myths as well, like the Norse have the Ragnarok, the Hindus just have Kali come in and destroy everything. Uh, for the one I'm learning under Morrigan and all that, they're just the heroes are all like defeated through their own mistakes in a sense, their own folly, and it comes to an end. But life carries on, so it's not like end type of thing. It's not like a Ragnarok as such. It's just the end of those heroes as such, but the story continues. It just becomes lost in time type of thing. Um, to me, like I've heard one or two people kind of go along this sort of line of thinking. I think like I kind of resonate with Ragnarok in a sense, uh, but in a way of the never-ending story. Like that film, The Never-Ending Story, where the great nothing starts consuming everything. That's the way I see it in a sense. So the demise, I think, Ragnarok is like like every god as a confrontation that they don't deal with in the shadow work of themselves, which ends up like creating a folly, which ends up ending like their fate as such. So like then their fate's being wrought, kind of thing. And it comes down to like this, like the Rainbow Bridge gets broken, which I think is like the 7 chakra points. So that's broke. If that's broke, then you have no body, you have no mind or spirit either. Because I think all 3 existed within that sort of structure in any way. So you can look at it like sort of the roots, the trunk, and the branches, including the leaves, are all the body. The mind is the system of the tree, it has to take in its nutrients, so it relies on the elements from outside of itself and everything to take in its nutrients plus it's got then it has awareness of the outside and its inside, and all this comes into the mind, and then the spirit outside of all of that, but it's that sort of second attention type of stuff, it might be even more deeper than that, really. Because you have your I think you have your natural response, then you have the second attention, which stops you from your natural response to hold on a minute. But it's so tricky to talk about. It's not as if when I was a kid I was aware of conscience, the good and the bad, the devil and the angel type of thing. We'd have the Tom and Jerry cartoons to show us all that. So I was aware of that was there, but it wasn't really a second attention just because I was aware of it in that way. It didn't stop me to go and question my own voice, because that just took that voice as me, So I think I second attention. I think all that's still mind, but I think that the second attention where you stop it is the spirit of your own will, that you can actually do that. But it has to come from outside. It doesn't come from the brain as such. It's coming from a different consciousness. It's still yourself, but it's just not here in your head, if you know what I mean. It's not here. You could say it'd be here in your heart, but I don't even think it's there. For me, it's more, if there was a place, I'd be saying it'd be come from the subconscious, which is up in where your dreams and all that are, but it just gets ripped. But then it's because your subconscious kind of finds it really hard to get to the materialism, because the material body is so dense. It makes it tricky to say that's where it is, but I think that's where it is. It could be anywhere. I think from the 8th chakra point, which is just outside your awareness, crown. Your crown is the 7th chakra point, but it sits slightly above your head in a sense. Then your 8th's way up there, higher, and it keeps going. There's a 9th and a 10th that go even further out. But I think it comes from the 8th, which is really high up. So you get, I see it like that because you get to see yourself from different multiple angles. You can look at the simplest thing, what am I going to go and do when I go from my house to the shop, and then you could fill it with thousands of things, that possibilities. So it doesn't suggest you should do that. I'm just explaining that you can do that as an example of the amount of possibilities that you could put in there and create in there, and that second attention, and then be prepared for any one of them to play out as well, type of thing, before you even go out. And you could do that in seconds. It wouldn't take you hours and hours and hours to go through them all. It's such a strange thing to explain. It only takes you seconds because you've gone through it that many times, really. Or you may have gone through it step by step at the beginning, oh, well, could go out there and bump into people, could go out there, could be rain, all these different scenarios, that you just happen to come across one step at a time. And eventually it gets to the point where you look out the window, you go and take a brolly if it's raining. If it's windy and raining, you might have just put up with it, type of thing. And brolly's not going to help. So you can take it into everything into account before you even get there. What's going to happen? What's happening even at the time? before you even get out there. Um, and I just think, like, like, I could be still wrong on it, but like, I think you have to be there in that place, like outside of yourself, when the shadows come, like when that time arrives. It might not be in this lifetime, it could be in lifetimes that were up in the future, and it could be in this lifetime coming, because we're always constantly dealing with it. But I think, like, some point somewhere, and I don't know really how it occurs, but like, let's just say, for example, like a psyche triggers in the universe, and then all of a sudden, like, everybody has to face their shadows, whether they like it or not. And these shadows can destroy you if you haven't dealt with them. Um, they'll take you out. They'll play your karma on you, if you will. They'll play furies on you, if you will. They can even cause, like, bad psychic weather as well, and not just bad psychic weather, but actual elemental weather upon you. You get struck by a lightning as such, just for the sake of it, just for the sake of being out there, or even indoors. Doesn't matter. It makes no difference. Just it all comes down to that behaviour of oneself, um, which sounds like kind of crazy, I suppose, and really, like, sort of like, how can you go that deep to organize, like, all your nodes, if you like, to be like a picture perfect? But you don't have to be a picture perfect. You just have to be outside of yourself, type of thing. You can be good and bad, you can fuck up shit and all the rest of it, and you can still sort of face that shadow. Because I think all it's looking for, all it wants to see in you, like, what you want to see in yourself, really. um that you have a purpose, and what that purpose is, and then the universe will, like, sort of, let's just say, for an example, but it's not really doing this, but just for an example, it judges you. So you get your judgment, you weigh up, you're like, is that worthy enough, as such? It's not really like, I'm just picking, it's by Christianity shit that I picked up why I'm saying that, like, but it's probably not even on that extreme, really. All it's doing is weighing everything up, seeing that you are committed to that purpose. I think that's where it wants you to be. If you're not committed, then the shadows are overcoming from you within, because you're not doing it, So you're, like, going to have, like, confrontation with yourself. And it's that confrontation with the self that, like, unravels just like unravels the meaning, unravels the purpose, unravels you into a sense of pointlessness, And once you're there, then you've got no existence, so you can't exist. That's what I think it is. When you come to the end of it. I know you guys might have a completely different opinion and just think I'm way far out there, but that's like, I've been, like, convinced like that for years, So I've always, like, tried to look at it like not that I'm trying to avoid anything or walk into anything at the same time, like, on that paradoxical sense. I've always, like, tried to watch my manners. I'm not perfect, but it's just like something I do. It's in my nature in any way, type of thing. Um, it's not really, again, like a really good example of how to avoid anything or anything like that. It's just my own inner nature of, like, I could be happy looking at myself from this, like, guidance of myself, if you like. And everybody will have their own unique way, of doing it. And it's that unique way you need to find. If that's my purpose and that's my unique way, then that might be sufficient enough. It might not be. Because I might be just blindsiding myself to fool myself as well, But I don't think so because I've done a lot of inner work here, and I'm always like facing confrontations, which I think like at this point in time within my life, even though like I'm kind of old and that now, but I still think it's a good thing for me. I'm actually like sort of looking at everything, even though it might cause like a lot of anxiety, a lot of paranoia, and in some sense depression as well. And the sort of sad side of it, if you think it's sad in any way, a lot of people would think it was sad. That I can't communicate with a lot of people, because of how far I have to go to see like myself and express myself to somebody else. I just think I'm in a world of my own, which I am really. But I think if I went back, again I could be wrong, but it's just like my own opinion. I went back to when paganism was an actual thing, and if I had the language to talk to my ancestors, I think I wouldn't be far off the mark, like of like how they look at it, they would like go, oh yeah, we see where you're coming from. Because they have that patience and that tolerance to sit and listen and hear it out, even though they might not have come across that experience as such, like in the exact same way and everything, they'd still understand it. And they might have stories that they could relate to it as well. And their solutions, I suppose, would be like, well, have you tried going out in the middle of the night when it's dark and into like guide you into an eerie spot, even take you there, where it's really eerie, and let you face your shadows, like full on type of thing. How long has this video been going on for? 42 minutes. I've got one last thing to talk about, if you guys don't mind. You could obviously, if you want to listen to you've got to carry on. If you haven't turned off by now. I had a strange dream 2 days ago where I was in like a graveyard with there's a church to my right, but didn't really notice it. I knew it was there, but kind of didn't really notice it. It was like sort of in my peripheral vision, if you like. And then I saw like these lights like shimmer. So I didn't really take it as ghosts or nothing, but they just like shimmered into a form of like humanoid that but that like animal masks on. Um, but at the same time they like had like these clothes on that were all one colour, so the mask and the top and the trousers were all the same colour, if you like. And every single one of these like things that appeared all had the same colour, but they all had different animal masks, but they were all the same colour. They all had this like bronze, sheeny glisten to them, if you like. It's almost like an aura, but it's like as if they were, but they weren't light, they were like solid. But it's still like it looked like as if they were made up of it at the same time, They were just like looking. And there was like I was stood in a spot on the path that was supposed to, I think at the time that my dream was trying to interpret it, that I was in the middle of a path somewhere. So I was in the middle of a path on this graveyard where this church was. And these beings appeared. And there was three of us, so there was me, someone else, and someone else type of thing. And one of my friends ran off scared. He ran off like down, let's just say it's south from my direction, like straight ahead really, but so he ran straight ahead of me and down quite far. Then he stopped because he didn't want to be on his own, because we like kind of stayed back in a sense, like me and my other friend. But then I got like this sense of like somehow we'd gone into another world, so we weren't there anymore. Even though I was still looking and seeing what was going on, I hadn't actually gone anywhere, but just had this sense we'd gone into another world, and our friend couldn't see us anymore. Even though he'd ran back, he sat down, like because he was confused, and just like stayed there till we turned back up, type of thing, regardless of what was going on. He just like looking at the ground, probably spooked out. And then I kind of just woke up from there. So that was like the dream. I thought, oh, but on a dream, because I hadn't really gone anywhere. So why wouldn't I see? Why did I like think that in the dream that I'd gone off somewhere and I didn't actually go off anywhere? And I don't know where the other person had gone, even though I couldn't see them. And so I could only see the one person that ran away and ran back, but the other person that I was aware of, I never saw in the whole dream from the beginning to the end, type of thing. I just was aware there was supposed to be this third person. Um, so when I woke up, this is again, it's only my opinion. So it's from when I woke up. This was not in the dream, and I think it's just my opinion of like what I was thinking, like after I woke up. Because once upon a time, all those were like the churches, the graveyards, and all that. What were now like, especially the old ones, nothing new. You gotta look at the old ones. They were once all the pagan sites, and I was like seeing in my mind's eye the Celtic cross. It's like in a circle and it's a cross. I was thinking we were in the crossroads because that's what I felt like in the dream. Was in the middle of a path. Even though I could see a path going this way, I could see one going that way, one in front. So I only saw like them two. I couldn't see one from behind, even though like I assumed there was one there to have got where we were. But this was after I woke up. It wasn't there in the dream, and I wasn't. All I could see here was like trees type of thing, or what I was aware of because it didn't really look type of thing. Um, so this was when I woke up that we were in the crossroads. And this is where the fair would have turned up if or the elementals, if you want to look at it that way. Um, and there would have been they're like the indicators for the old pagans, to talk to their ancestors, like not just their ancestors, but like the elementals of nature as well, if you like. So I'm like thinking of there's nothing around here where I live. There is no old church here. The church here is reverently new, kind of really. 200-year-old, something like that. We need something really older than that, really. It's just what I'm thinking, like God get somewhere where I know there was an old church. Go there on like sort of Halloween or something, and see if I can get there. See if I can see that like crossroads, just like from the dream. It's like give me that little bit of inspiration. Anyway, that was that. So like again, like dealing with that shadow work, dealing with like sort of supernatural spooks, if you like. It might really not be like that as such, but um, might be a way to connect with the ancestors or the elementals, both, one or both type of thing. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna let you go because the videos have gone on for a really long time. I'll try and catch you next time and try and be a bit more coherent. It's really difficult, but I'll try my best. So I'll catch you later, guys. Bye.